Hey peeps, viewers, and subscribers, I'm back again, and I'm just basically back because I did a build on a Phanteks case there just a while back, and I'm just doing a follow-up video just to explain some of the disadvantage and likes and some of the hates I hate about I don't like about the case. Now, first thing I do find that they could offer you the PCI cable. You have to purchase the cable separately, $35 for the cable. You got to make sure that you're getting the right length. You got to make sure you don't get one that's too long, because I ran into a situation where that basically that I've had some Zeilman fans in them, and it was the open type style Zeilman fans that had the fan blades exposed. I wouldn't suggest buying them. I do like Zeilman products. I'm not knocking them, but those fans were not the best choice for a case fan. If you're planning on putting the case together and it's going to just be a small system and you're never planning on taking the system apart, then those fans would probably be good for you. But if you're the type of person that's upgrading your system or adding new components all the time, then I would suggest not using them because they're very easy to get wires wrapped around them. And then I've cracked one of the blades. I went and my keyboard that I have for my wireless, I laid next to it. It fell against it, and then it made the fan go off kilter, and then the fan blade came off and I had to throw it away. I only have like two fans left out of all those Zeilman fans, and I had to replace every one of them. And I'm on a mission to replace the other two as well. And I do indicate to you as well, like I've had an issue where I found the case was a little heavy. I dropped it on the floor by mistake, and I find that the RGBs, make sure you don't drop it on the floor. I find the RGBs are very sensitive if it has a sudden hit or something along that line. I've had to replace one of my fans on my liquid cooler due to it falling over, and I had an RGB controller box that was on the other side of the case, which I find, this is my complaint I had about this case when I was doing the build, that on the opposite side where you hide all the wires on the opposite side, they don't give you enough room. We should at least give you another inch of space on that side of the case. The case is big as it is right now. I don't think one more inch is going to make a difference. That's the only suggestion I would have on the other side. Give us a little more space. Now, another thing is maybe they should have a spot, make the tower a little tad taller so that you could use a secondary power supply that's a small one, that's about that high, so that when you're using the secondary system, you're not relying all on one power supply. Now, the other thing I found with this is what I would suggest you to do. There's a controller box that comes with it for the controlling the two systems when you got two boards in the system. I would suggest you buying that adapter, because what will happen is when you use it without the adapter, if you go to, let's say you turn off the main system, and what will happen is sometimes that the other streaming system will go down with the other one. It will shut both the systems down. Or sometimes what will happen is that you'll have the main system on, you turn off the secondary system, and then it will turn off the other system. So I would definitely suggest buying the power supply module for two boards. It'll avoid a lot of other things cropping up. Now, the other thing I do find with this that I'm having an issue with, they got you the bottom where you can mount all those fans at the bottom. Now, the issue is with these mini boards, I'm even feeling they should be giving you roughly about an extra inch on the other side. So I think the box should be an inch bigger on each side of the case in the tower, so that it will accommodate when you have a motherboard that's at the bottom, a mini system. Some of them have the NVMe slot right next down by the video card, or down by the base where you can mount more fans to suck air in the bottom. And I find that heat sink on that NVMe drive causes issues with putting additional fans in there. So that would be another suggestion that I would suggest. Now, another thing I found out about the case, Those little screws that I was talking about on the back, the thumb screws you screw in to hold them on the case. I've had the case apart so many times that those screws do, after a while, do come stripped, and they will not last. Now, what I would suggest them to do, the manufacturer, they should weld a washer in behind both of those screws so that there's less chance that that is going to strip out that holds your case cover on. Just by coincidence, I have other case thumb screws that are a little more thicker, so that it'll rethread in and it will put it in. But I do find that is one of the issues I've found problems with the case. Now, another thing that I discovered with the case that I wasn't really pleased about is that the hard drives. They got hard drive mounts to put all the hard drives in cages. Now the thing is that you can add more in there, but the maximum you can add is 2, 4, 6 cages, and they're bundled in 2 packages. Now, if you want to put more than that, more than 8 drives in your, 6 drives in your system, what'll happen is they have these little metal tabs on the case where that you can't remove them. You gotta snip them off. They could make them that they're removable, or you can make them that they can pop off, so that you can actually get all those drives in there without going to start cutting your case up. I haven't done that yet, but if I want to add more drives, that's what I'm going to have to do. Now the issue is if you're going to need a lot of storage and you're looking for storage, this case will work, but the problem with this scenario is you can't put a liquor cooler in the front of the system because all your hard drive cages are right there. Now I can see why they put the hard drive cages there, so that you can remove them for different configurations. And then I found if you put in a full-size GPU in there, those hard drive cages are going to be in the way again. Then you have to have a space between the hard drive cages to accommodate a larger video card. So basically, if you're going to be planning on using a lot of drives, then you have to make sure what your configuration is going to be before you start configuring how you're going to go about setting up the system. Now, another thing, they have a slot that you can add 2 big 5.25 mil drives. Problem is, it's behind the glass, you can't access them. So they're only good if you had like a display. You're going to put a small display in there, like a 10-inch display, then that would be a great fit for that. Or if you're planning on putting like a liquid cooler monitoring system or something like that, you could put that in there, because then you wouldn't have to access it. But if you put a DVD drive in there, you can't access it, so then you have to be taking the cover off at all times. But the only reason I have the DVD drive because I use final plotting software, and I have to use it in the DVD drive, so there's no real need that I have to take the cover off to do that. So that's not really a problem, but just give you the heads up if you're planning on doing that. Now, what I would suggest with Phanteks, they should suggest that on the other side, they should give you the ability to mount it on the opposite side of the case, so that you can buy new. Maybe they can offer another side that you can take off that has the DVD drives on the opposite side, so that you can put them on the other side, so that you can access them all times. Or maybe give us a configuration where the fan slots are that you could accommodate a DVD drive in there, or somehow. I know people don't use DVD drives very often, but there are still people that use DVD drives or have a purpose for a DVD drive. Now you may say to yourself, well, you can add a DVD drive wirelessly. Well, with a cord or with a USB or a SATA cable or a FireWire cable. Yeah, you can do that too. But the only thing is, then you got another thing on your desk, is the only scenario with that problem. Now, the other thing I found out about it that I really wasn't happy with it, they got that little cover on the front that hides up those CD-ROM, the USB cables. Now, if you have that close to your desk and it's under your keyboard, you're going to struggle with putting those USB cables in. when you put them in, you're like, where am I at? Am I in the right spot? You're like, you gotta like go back like almost 2 feet to see where to plug it in. And it just makes things very complicated. If you're going to put a door in the front, make the door slide back so that it's not in the way if people are using USB cables on the front. So it makes it easier for them to plug those cables in. Now, the other thing, I don't mind the filters. Filters are fine. That's not an issue. But, just give us a little more options for the liquid cooling setups, or maybe some different brackets or different configurations. Now, the other thing is everyone thinks you need that GPU bracket holder to put in your GPU for your secondary system that mounts this way. You don't need it. The video card has 2 pegs on the bottom that you slip the peg into, and then it got 2 screws on the top, and it'll support the video card with no problem. No sagging. Do not need it. Now, if you're going to mount the card this way, then yes, I have a big complaint about this case because there's not enough metal support behind that GPU to mount it this way, and there is a little bit of sag. Now, why don't the manufacturers add a bracket that you can mount like this under your card, that you can adjust it on the case, that it mounts to on the case somewhere so that you can support your GPU? Like, everyone knows that. Even if you put the metal bracket behind it that's like this, that they supply with it, I still find there's still sag in the front. The only way to avoid that is to put a support in the front with a stand-up post, or find some kind of configuration, maybe like something you can hang it with. You can hook the corner and then just attach it to the top of the case. There's a lot of ways that can probably stop the sag, but that bracket that they supply, I don't find it's still not strong enough to stop that CPU sag. Now, the other issue with that, if they're like, I don't know why the manufacturers are not doing anything about that. Like, why can't MSI, or like, you see the card, see there's no metal backing supports. Why don't they put like you have like the I-beams for the buildings, and why can they make a little like metal strip that they can put along here, along there, that would make it strong and support it so that the video card is not sagging? Or maybe in that one section of the case, make the metal thicker. Like, add a thicker piece of metal so it has more supports from the screws. Or maybe run a bracket from the supporting screws to all the way through the video card so that it doesn't sag. Like, I don't understand why none of the manufacturers or case towers companies that are making them are not accommodating these problems, because they're not. Now, all over the case, I do enjoy the case. The case does give me a lot of options. It was managed to cover both systems, not a problem. And if you only plan on using one system in the Phanteks case, you're going to have a lot of space available. But if you're using multiple systems, then that's when space starts becoming very hard for adding additional items. But other than that, I would definitely buy the case again, but just letting you be aware of some of the things I ran into, some of the things to avoid that you could run into that you may not think about at the time, because I built the system and then ended up discovering any additional parts of things that you didn't account for. Sometimes when you build a custom system, there is some things that you can't accommodate for. You only know until when you start setting the system up and start spreading it out that you have to add more options. Other than that, everything else was good. It's a well-made case. The glass is made good. Glass is heavy. The filters are all good. The only other thing I made, like that mesh filter, I have a feeling that when the case gets older, it's going to be very difficult to keep that clean or make it clean. So maybe next time they maybe should use like a honeycomb plastic with something over it that's a little more maintenance friendly. And other than that, I would definitely do it again. Now, I added caster wheels on the bottom. You can do that. I do find it does work fine, but the problem is with the case, if you start putting a lot of components in it, it is seems to be top heavy on one side. So if you're going to add caster wheels on the bottom, I would suggest you to run a piece of angle iron across the whole bottom, then put the wheels on, and then you're not going to have any issues with that balancing issue. Because what will happen is that I think there's one of the caster wheels. I have 3 on each side, and I think due to the design of the case, there's not much support there for that. I know it's not something that comes with the case. It was something that I did for my own personal use, and it just makes it a lot more simpler to pull the case out when you got 2 systems in one case. It is very heavy when you start adding 6 drives and liquid coolers and all that. It can become very heavy. And I would suggest this is going to be a case you're probably going to use on the floor, because it's going to be too heavy to have 2 systems to be putting that on the desk all the time and lifting it. So I wouldn't suggest doing that. So everything looks to be good there. If I come across any other complaints or anything else I can see about the case, or anything else I can think of that could help you with the install or improve your setup, we'll be back to report more about the Phanteks case. But I definitely liked it. It was definitely a good purchase. I know I have some likes and dislikes, but it's like everything you buy, you're going to have a like and a dislike. So that's just the way it goes when you're building a custom system. Alright, and if you do like this video, keep subscribing and supporting my channel. I could use more subscribers. I'm looking for 1,000 subscribers is my goal, and please help me get that goal. And I thank you for your time. See you on the flip side, and I'll be back more with some more content. And if you like any other videos I'd like to do, the topics or anything you want me to talk about, just let me know, and I will maybe create some more videos on that content as well. Have yourself a fantastic evening. And have yourself a great long weekend as well.